Jerusalem, a city at the center of prophecy for thousands of years, is now preparing for the return of Jesus. But why now? And what secrets are driving this urgency? Let's explore these secrets with Premonition. Sign 1. The return of Israel. The first sign: Israel has returned. The Bible prophesied that before Jesus returns, Israel would be reborn as a nation. But it's what happened after Israel's rebirth that reveals the most disturbing truth of all. A prophecy given over 2,500 years ago. A prophecy many thought was impossible. But in our time, it came true. Isaiah 66:8 says, "Who has heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to give birth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once?" On May 14, 1948, that exact prophecy was fulfilled. Israel was reborn in a single day, the celestial sign of Israel's return. What celestial event on that day in 1948 signaled God's hand in Israel's return? It wasn't just a coincidence. It was an undeniable sign that something bigger was at play. According to many scholars and religious leaders, the regathering of the Jewish people to their ancestral homeland was not merely the result of geopolitical forces, but also part of a divine plan. This belief is often linked to other signs in Scripture that predict Israel's return in the end times. On May 14, 1948, the world watched as David Ben-Gurion, the head of the Jewish Agency, proclaimed the establishment of the State of Israel, declaring it as a modern-day miracle. But this moment was preceded by significant international events. In 1917, during the World War I, the British issued the Balfour Declaration, which supported the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine. This was further solidified after World War II, as the global community became more sympathetic to the plight of the Jewish people due to the atrocities of the Holocaust. After the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD, the Jewish people were scattered across the world. But now, something is pulling them back. What is this unseen force gathering them at such an unprecedented speed? Could it be the fulfillment of prophetic writings? Or is it simply the outcome of historical necessity and human determination? Regardless, the rapid repopulation of Israel, particularly in the years following 1948, gives weight to the belief that something extraordinary is at play. The miracle of Israel's return. They were exiled from their land, persecuted in foreign nations. Many believed Israel would never exist again, but God had other plans. What divine intervention during World War II forced the world to give Israel back its land against all odds? Could a similar crisis be the final trigger for what happens next? In the ashes of World War II, a miracle happened. The horrors of the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were murdered, left the Jewish people with a deep desire to return to their homeland. After centuries of persecution, the dream of a Jewish state seemed impossible. But a series of events, including the sympathy of the international community, the rising tide of nationalism, and the sheer will of the Jewish people, made the creation of Israel possible. The United Nations voted in 1947 to partition Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states. The Jewish leadership accepted the proposal, while the Arab nations rejected it, leading to conflict. Yet, in the face of overwhelming odds, the new state of Israel survived its early wars and solidified its position as a nation. The prophecy about Israel's return was not only fulfilled with the establishment of the Seng in 1948, but the survival and thriving of Israel against numerous adversities is seen by many as a continued miracle. Even as Israel has faced repeated wars, internal strife, and external threats, it has persisted and flourished. It's a modern-day miracle that continues to be cited as one of the clearest signs of divine fulfillment. Israel's return and growth over the past decades provide not only a historical testimony, but also a spiritual one. It is seen by many as evidence of the divine hand at work, guiding the Jewish people back to their promised land and a sign of hope for the future. Could this miraculous return be the beginning of something even greater? An event that will fulfill the rest of the prophecies concerning the end times? As the world watches Israel, the question remains, is the return of Israel just the beginning of the ultimate fulfillment of prophecy, a harbinger of the events that are yet to come? Sign 2. The mass return to Jerusalem. The second sign, the mass return to Jerusalem. The Jewish people have returned to Israel, but why now? What unexpected force is accelerating their return at a staggering pace? Deuteronomy 30:3 says, "Then the Lord your God will restore your fortunes and have compassion on you and gather you again from all the nations where he scattered you." What mysterious force is pulling the people of Israel back to Israel right now that defies all human explanation? Many believe it is the fulfillment of prophetic promises, a divine call that is being answered at an extraordinary pace. This call to return to the land of Israel is not a modern political movement alone, but one that resonates deeply in the hearts of Jewish people, regardless of where they are located in the world. The mysterious gathering of Israel. Ezekiel 37, 1-14 says, "Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the people of Israel. They say, our bones are dried up, and our hope is gone. We are cut off. But this is what the sovereign Lord says, my people, I am going to open your graves and bring you up from them. I will bring you back to the land of Israel." In this passage, the prophet Ezekiel is given a vision of dry bones coming to life, symbolizing the rebirth of the nation of Israel. The people of Israel, scattered and oppressed for centuries, are depicted as lifeless and without hope, but God promises to bring them back to life, to restore them to their land, and to rebuild their nation. This powerful vision is widely regarded as a prophetic foreshadowing of the modern-day return of the Jewish people to Israel. The bones represent not only the physical return of the Jewish people, but also their spiritual revival. Many Jews have long maintained a deep, almost instinctive connection to the land of Israel, even in exile. The longing for Jerusalem and the promise of return have been central themes in Jewish prayers and traditions for over 2,000 years. Yet, despite centuries of dispersion, hardship, and persecution, Israel's restoration has begun to unfold in a way that few could have anticipated. The return of the Jewish people to Israel has been happening at an increasingly rapid pace since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. Jewish communities from all over the world, including Europe, the Middle East, and even Ethiopia and the former Soviet Union, have made their way back to their ancient homeland. This return is not just a physical relocation. It is for many a spiritual return to a place of identity, purpose, and fulfillment of ancient promises. The prophetic call and the role of Jerusalem. What ghostly whisper from the graves is urging Israel's return? Could this same force be warning of something even greater on the horizon? Ezekiel's vision suggests that even though Israel had been exiled and scattered across the nations, there would come a time when they would hear a call to return. This prophecy not only foretold the return of the Jewish people to their homeland, but also predicted the spiritual awakening that would accompany it. The return to Jerusalem, the heart of Israel, is the ultimate manifestation of this divine promise. Jerusalem, with its profound significance as the spiritual and historical heart of Judaism, plays a central role in this return. The city has been a symbol of Jewish longing and prayer for millennia. It is no coincidence that the return to Israel has been accompanied by a special focus on Jerusalem, the city that was once destroyed, rebuilt, and is now at the center of global attention. The mass return to Jerusalem is seen by many as the fulfillment of God's promise to gather his people from all corners of the earth, with the city itself standing as the ultimate destination. Throughout the 20th century, Israel has seen waves of immigration, especially after significant global events such as the Holocaust and the fall of the Soviet Union. Despite political challenges and conflicts, there has been a strong pull drawing Jews back to their ancestral homeland. Today, Israel is home to one of the largest Jewish populations in the world, and the city of Jerusalem continues to be a beacon, drawing Jews from the diaspora and serving as a symbol of faith and fulfillment of prophecy. A return against all odds. The amazing part is that the gathering is not over. The return to Israel, particularly to Jerusalem, is still happening. Many who had long since abandoned the idea of returning to their ancestral land now feel an irresistible pull to do so. For some, this may be a personal or economic decision, but for many others, it feels like an answer to an ancient call, one that cannot be ignored. Israel's return is not merely a historical phenomenon, but a living testimony to the fulfillment of prophecy. Despite wars, resistance, and obstacles, the Jewish people continue to return, and Jerusalem remains the focal point of this gathering. The idea of Jerusalem is much more than just a geographic location. It is the symbol of a people's survival, resilience, and connection to God's promises. As the Jewish people continue to return, what could this gathering signal for the future? Could it be the precursor to even greater events that are written in prophecy? Could Jerusalem's pivotal role in the return of Israel be a sign of things to come, perhaps even a final call before a new chapter of history unfolds? Sign 3. The Third Temple. The third sign, the Third Temple. For thousands of years, the Jewish people have been waiting for one moment: the rebuilding of the Holy Temple, a prophecy spoken of in the book of Daniel, the book of Revelation, and even by the words of Jesus himself. And now, preparations are already happening. The anticipation surrounding the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem has been building for centuries, with countless prophecies describing its significance in the end times. The Jewish people, who were exiled from their land and scattered across the globe, have always held a deep connection to the temple. For many, the return of the temple is a powerful symbol of their spiritual restoration and the fulfillment of God's promises. What sacred items were just found? What sacred items were just found that could force the temple's construction overnight? This discovery could change everything. In recent years, there have been significant developments surrounding the Third Temple, particularly the creation and discovery of sacred objects that are meant to be used in the temple's services. The Temple Institute, a religious organization in Jerusalem dedicated to the rebuilding of the temple, has been at the forefront of preparing these items. Among them are the sacred golden menorah, the high priest's garments, the silver trumpets, and various temple vessels, all crafted to precise specifications based on ancient Jewish texts. The discovery of these items, along with the meticulous preparations, raises the question: could the construction of the Third Temple be closer than ever? In fact, many believe that the sudden appearance of these sacred objects is a sign that the time for the rebuilding of the temple is rapidly approaching. However, the restoration of the temple is not merely a matter of religious ritual. It is deeply tied to biblical prophecy, and the implications of its construction are profound. The coming of the Third Temple. The moment the Third Temple rises, a new chapter of prophecy begins. Daniel 9:27 says, "Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering." This passage from Daniel refers to a time of tribulation and upheaval when a world leader will confirm a 7-year peace agreement, only to break it midway through. This event is often associated with the arrival of the Antichrist, a figure who will deceive many before turning on them. The prophecy suggests that the rebuilding of the temple will be a pivotal event in the fulfillment of end times prophecies. The existence of the Third Temple is crucial because it sets the stage for the stopping of sacrifices halfway through the 7-year peace agreement. The existence of the temple, therefore, is not just a religious or historical event. It is a key sign that the fulfillment of biblical prophecy is unfolding before our eyes. What shadowy figure is already negotiating this deadly covenant? The prophecy speaks of a world leader who will secure a 7-year peace deal with Israel and other nations. This peace agreement will bring temporary tranquility, but will ultimately be broken, leading to a period of intense tribulation. The identity of this leader has been the subject of much speculation, and many believe that current political events and global tensions are pointing toward the fulfillment of this prophecy in the near future. The Temple Institute, an organization in Jerusalem, has one goal: to rebuild the Holy Temple. They have already created the sacred golden menorah, reconstructed the high priest's garments, forged the silver trumpets, and crafted the temple vessels, all in anticipation of the day the temple is rebuilt. The temple's design is already laid out, and the priests have been trained in ancient rituals. All they need is permission to build. However, the process is not as simple as gathering sacred objects. The rebuilding of the temple is hindered by political, religious, and social challenges. One of the major obstacles is the location of the original temple, on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. This site is also sacred to Muslims, who hold the Al-Aqsa Mosque there. The political and religious tensions surrounding this area are immense, and any attempt to rebuild the temple would undoubtedly provoke conflict. The question remains, what or who will hold the final key to the temple's construction? Some believe that divine intervention will play a role in resolving these issues, but others speculate that the political climate in Jerusalem could change dramatically, paving the way for the construction of the temple. Regardless of the challenges, the preparations for the temple are progressing, and the Jewish people are more determined than ever to see their most sacred site restored. But what hidden battle must be fought before the first stone can be laid? Something or someone is desperately trying to stop this from happening. The rebuilding of the temple is seen by many as the fulfillment of a divine promise and a crucial part of God's plan for the end times. However, there are forces, both seen and unseen, that are working to prevent this event from taking place. The political, religious, and spiritual struggles surrounding the Temple Mount are fierce, and the battle for control over this sacred site is ongoing. Many believe that the final obstacle to the temple's construction may be linked to the mysterious figure mentioned in Daniel's prophecy, the one who will eventually bring an end to sacrifices and offerings. This figure's rise to power and influence could change the course of history, and the construction of the Third Temple may be the catalyst that sets these events into motion. While the Temple Institute and other organizations continue their work, the question remains, who will ultimately hold the key to the temple's construction, and how will the events unfold? As the preparations continue, the stage is set for a dramatic turn of events that could lead to the fulfillment of the most anticipated prophecy in Jewish and Christian tradition. The Third Temple is not just a Jewish prophecy, it's a countdown, and that countdown is accelerating. It is a sign of the end times. The signs are here, and every new development is pushing us closer to the inevitable. The fourth sign: the nations are turning against Jerusalem. The Bible warned us that in the last days, the whole world will turn against Jerusalem.